Hello everybody, what's going on? It is Voodoo here, and welcome to another Voodoo's Verdict, where I'm going to be giving you a complete and thorough review of a game that I have just recently completed. And the game that we'll be taking a look at today is Ibb and Obb. Now, as I've done with games like this in the past, I will not be giving this game a number score at the end of the review, because again, this is not a full $60 put on disc game. This is an online network download game. Right now it is free on PlayStation Plus when I'm making this video. Normally it is $10 on PSN. I'm not sure if it's on any other platforms, but I know it's on PSN. Again, $10 normally, free right now, currently, if you have PlayStation Plus. So, I'm just going to be giving you my thoughts on the game and, whether or not I think that you should check it out. So, Ibb and Obb is a cooperative or single-player puzzle platform game. Now, to be honest with you, I am not going to be talking much about the single-player because I don't know how it works. You need, two people to do the puzzles, so I don't know exactly how the single player works. I don't know how, the other player is controlled or anything like that. I played it cooperatively, and I'm just going to tell you right now that I would tend to believe that this game is really only going to be worth checking out if you play it two-player, but I'm not so sure on that, so if you're going to play it by yourself, you probably need to look some of that up. But the game can be played single player, can also be played cooperatively, either locally or online. And I played this game co-op online with my friend Brandon, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the game. So, as I mentioned, it's a puzzle platform game, and the major mechanic in this game is that gravity works both ways. Alright, so you have, obviously, one player controls Ibb, one controls Obb, and as you progress through the levels, it's a 2D side-scroller. As you go through the levels, you will find these portals that when you go through them, it flips the gravity. So you'll be walking on the platform, you'll go through the portal, and it'll flip gravity, and you'll wind up on the other side, upside down more or less, on the platform. And so, really, all the puzzles in this game revolve around that central ideal of reverse gravity. Now, there's several mechanics that are thrown in with the reverse gravity. The main type of, enemy type, since it's not just a platformer, not just a puzzler, it is a platformer. The main, enemy types are these I don't really know how to describe them, like these black entities. They're either like bouncy spiky balls or like really big spiky balls. A bit later in the game you have, instances where you have like these floating black things that look like mustaches, and the bottom line with this is that on one side of a platform you will have one of these enemies, and then on the underside of the platform you will have these white balls that move in accordance with the black enemies on top. And yeah, the whole idea here is to, have one player go on wherever the side the white balls are and collect them. And when you do, the enemies on top blow up and release crystals, and the other player is supposed to collect these crystals before they, before they go away. And that's really, the puzzles will really either involve just finding a way to progress in the level through a platforming puzzle, or, finding a way to get through by these enemies. And it all relies on this central idea of gravity. There's also, other mechanics such as sort of like the momentum, more or less, in Portal, if you ever played the Portal series, where you will have a bouncy pad on the level, and as one player jumps onto the pad, if there's another player standing on the pad directly underneath them or on top, it will bounce that player, and you can have momentum bouncing the players back and forth. And so some of the puzzles involve finding a way to get one player up to a high area and then have the other player stand on the underneath of the platform, have the person jump from a high area onto this platform, and it will bounce the person underneath to an area that they need to get to. So that's in the game, and there's also a mechanic of character-specific gravity fields. So Ibb is green and Obb is pink. I think that's the colors. I think Ibb is the green one. But anyway, regardless, one is pink, one is green, and so sometimes you'll have gravity fields that are color specific. Only one character can go through. For the other character, it's just like a wall, and so you'll have dynamics where one player will have to, you basically just have to solve the puzzle with only one player going into their specific gravity portals and such. And really, that's the main idea of the game. The idea is to obviously progress. And really the goal is to get, to collect all of the crystals that the enemies drop in the game. And there's also sometimes some hidden crystals in the level that, you don't need to kill an enemy, you just maybe need to find a hidden area and figure out a way to get the crystal. So you don't lose, obviously, if you don't get all the crystals. It's just something to strive for. There's also a variety of hidden levels. Most of the main levels in the game, I believe there are 15 main levels. Many of these levels will have a hidden level within them that you might need to find this hidden platform, and if you go stand on the platform, it teleports you to this one puzzle, this hidden puzzle that's very difficult and very challenging, but if you beat it, you get rewarded with, I think it's like a gem, a special gem or something like that, which helps to raise your points, more or less. But it's more of just like a, hey, we did it kind of thing. We found the hidden level. It's kind of like a completionist type thing. Found the hidden level, solved this really hard puzzle, got a gem. Cool. The art style of Ibb and Obb is gorgeous. I loved it. I can't really describe it to you other than it's very, very colorful, and just, I mean, you can easily look up a trailer or screenshots or something of this game to see the art style. It's really amazing, really colorful. I loved it. It really captured me. The whole game was the art style, and the music score of the game it's really, really good. That's one of the best things about this game, in my opinion, the graphics and the music. Now, all in all, it's a pretty fun game, as really most puzzle games are. It's fun to sit with somebody and go back and forth and rack your brain and try to figure out what to do, and you feel good when you figure it out and solve it, and it's a fun game. But it's not perfect. There are problems with this game that you need to be prepared for when you play it. All right. First of all, there are problems with the online, and the reason for that is that often during this game, and we will get into this, but often during this game, you are required to make very precision timing jumps. Oftentimes the puzzles will involve one person standing on the other one's head, and then one jumps and the other one jumps off the other one's head to get momentum, stuff like that, and it can be very precise timing that you need. And unfortunately with this game, there is some issues with lag from time to time, and when there's lag or input delay, it can make the precision timing of the game very, very frustrating, because it's hard to pull off precision timing jumps and things like that when there's even a little bit of lag. And unfortunately, for the online experience, Brandon and I both experienced this. Even though we had pretty good internet connections, at times it would lag, and it would be very, very difficult and frustrating to try to do what we wanted to do. So that is a big problem with the game online. I'm going to say that, in my opinion, most definitely the best way to experience Ibb and Obb is local multiplayer. One, because there won't be any lag, and you can do precision jumps easily and fluidly. The second reason it's better local is the second really big issue with online gameplay. So you can either play this game, keep in mind, with a friend or you can just randomly be matched online with someone. How you communicate with a random person in the way you need to beat this game, I have no earthly idea unless you're a very, very friendly person. Otherwise, the problem is that some of these levels can be very, very long, especially when you're sitting there trying to figure out puzzles. It's a hard puzzle. It can take, 20, 30 minutes or more per level to beat. Problem is, there is absolutely no way to save your game in the middle of a level. It's impossible to do. There's no checkpoints and you can't manually save the game, which is a problem in itself, and I just don't understand why in today's era we have games that you cannot just save whenever you want. Certain games I can understand it, but in a game that's just a platforming puzzle game that's obviously meant to be a casual experience to begin with, why in the world would you not just have a way to save the game, especially when you're playing online and could be with complete strangers? Because the problem is that if you're playing online with someone and say you've gone 15 minutes or 20 minutes, you're in the middle of a level, and for whatever reason you disconnect with that other person, whether or not the other person has to quit abruptly, whether your internet drops out, whatever the case is, if you disconnect with that other person, it kicks you out of the game. And when you go back to replay that level, you have to start from the beginning. So there were a couple of times where our internet actually kicked. There was a day where PSN was having a lot of problems, and it happened to us like twice that day. We played about 15 or 20 minutes into a level. We were close to the end of the level. All of a sudden, one of us got booted from the room, and when we went back, we had to redo, it obviously wasn't like 20 minutes of gameplay because we knew how to do the puzzles, but we had to do, say, cut it in half. We had to redo like 10 minutes of gameplay just to get back to where we were before the internet cut out. And that's just something that, to me, is inexcusable. You can't have that in a game. You have to understand the issues that can arise with online gameplay, especially with random strangers who may have to leave, who may have terrible internet that just drops. There should be a way to save this game in the middle of it. Even local multiplayer, sometimes you're like, alright, we're going to start blah blah, then something comes up, you have to stop all of a sudden, and it deletes everything you've done in the level. So that's a major, major problem. Now, we're going to get to the last issue I have with this game, and then I'm going to tell you about my recommendations for it. Alright, so my last biggest problem with the game is this. Like I mentioned, the game overall is fun, but it's not just a puzzler, it's also a platformer. So don't think of it as Portal, to where Portal, there really wasn't that much complex gameplay. If you figured out the puzzle, the gameplay wasn't going to get in your way. You could easily do pretty much whatever you needed to do to beat the puzzle. It didn't require a lot of technical gaming ability to beat Portal. The challenge lied in, okay, figuring out the puzzle. Well, in this game, there is a lot of challenge in figuring out the puzzles, and the puzzles are fun to figure out, but by the end of the game, the gameplay of it just gets in your way to the point of annoyance and frustration. By the end of the game, the last few levels of the game, they want you to do so many precise, timed things, and I mean just, it's always involving the enemies. Really, the platforming, just the straight up puzzle, how do I get from A to B, don't worry about enemies, it's not that hard. That's more like, okay, I figure out the challenge, I can do it. But with the enemies, that basically if you touch them, you die, the last few levels, they just want you to do this precise, and I mean precise, timing. You have to be really, really good to an extent at platforming to actually finish this game. And add in the fact that we were playing it over the internet with some input lag, and it just equaled to, by the end of the game, we were extremely frustrated and just wanted to get the game over with. We were having a lot of fun, and in the last few levels, they just wanted you to do these precise, I don't even know how else to describe it, except for like pinpoint accurate timing jumps and, and run and do this at this exact moment, and if you're a hair too soon or a hair too late, you fail and you have to restart the whole sequence, because when you die, all the enemies in that particular puzzle respawn and you start from scratch. Now, this requires that two people who are playing, just forget about the whole input lag for a second, but two people who are playing to both be pinpoint accurate and precise on the money to complete these puzzles, and it's almost unrealistic, to the point where it's like, there was especially the final level of this game, which is completely different pretty much from the rest of the game. The last level is really just its own thing. But the last level, there was a scene where more or less we had to, you got, to an area where this gigantic ball, enemy ball was chasing you, and it was faster than you, and you had to basically put one person on your head, jump them over the ball, and as soon as you did that, you had to run and sit in this nook for the ball to bounce over you. Then you had to get up and run because the ball came back, and you eventually got to a place where you were safe. But the timing of this was literally like within a little nanosecond. I can't even explain to you how many times we died doing that, just because my character was more or less the one doing most of the actions during this part, and I was either a nanosecond too early with what I was doing, a nanosecond too late, at the first part or the second part and whatever, and it was just ridiculous. I mean, you need to at least, I understand having, difficulty in a platform and all that, and I can respect that, but to a certain extent, I feel like this type of a game is not, you kind of ruin the whole experience by making it like that. And again, with playing it online, it's very, very, very difficult to do anything with that kind of nanosecond precision timing. Like, this was a game that I was going to replay after I beat it with my girlfriend, because she was like, oh, look, it's a fun little puzzle game, you jump around and stuff. Hell no. There's no way she could play it. I could barely play it because of how, like, precise you'd have to be with the timing. I can't even play this game with her because, no knock on her, she doesn't play video games very much, and I do, and I still struggled with the game, and there's no, like, difficulty setting or anything, so it got really annoying by the end of the game, and it was a shame. So, Ibb and Obb, my thoughts are mixed, okay? I think that the game, for the most part, is enjoyable. Certainly, most of the front end of the game is enjoyable. The art style and music is exceptional. The puzzles are fun. They do get a little repetitive by the end because it's kind of the same mechanics over and over and over again, but they still challenge you all the way till the end. We never really felt like, oh, this was too easy, the puzzles are too easy, we're not being challenged. They challenge you. We even had to look up one or two towards the end because we just couldn't figure it out. We stared at it for half an hour and couldn't do it. So, but, for the most part, the puzzles do make sense. The solutions make sense. They're not like like bullshit, like, oh, you'd have to look this up, there's no way you'd figure that out. It's pretty much straightforward. But there are certain things, especially with the online experience, that hinders the game. And again, to recap, that is the fact that with the precision timing that some of these puzzles require, it's hard to do that with any sort of lag whatsoever, which you're going to have online. And the fact that there's no saving in the middle of levels, and so if, for whatever reason, your internet goes out or somebody gets kicked, forget everything you just did on that level, you're going to have to replay the whole damn thing again, which is really frustrating. And the only other thing, as I mentioned, was just how brutal, like, the time frame is for some of these jumps and stuff. So I would say a big part of your problems would be eliminated by just finding a friend locally to sit down and play the game with. So a good amount of the problems that we found were just based on the fact it was online, and that they didn't really do a good job of compensating for that. So if you play it local couch co-op, you're going to get rid of most of your problems, but by the end of the game you may still get frustrated with the platforming aspect and also kind of the repetitiveness of the puzzles. The game is a really good length. I mean, we played it probably a good 6 hours or so, and we only did like a couple of the hidden levels. I mean, if you do all the hidden levels and everything, you're going to get a good amount of time. I would say ranging anywhere from about 6 to maybe 10 hours of gameplay from this game. So it's a significant amount of gameplay. You're not getting cheap there. There's a lot of gameplay here. So for 10 bucks, if you're just going to pay for it straight up, you're getting a lot of content out of it. So that's not bad at all. So, other than that, final thoughts. I think if you like puzzle games, if you like platform games, you have a friend or something that you want to play this game with, absolutely, if you're going to get it for free, if you have PS Plus, absolutely download it, check it out. It's really hard to pass up a free game regardless of what it is. If it's free, there's no harm in checking it out. And if you don't like it, you know, don't worry about it. But for $10, again, I would recommend to have somebody locally to play it with. If you have to play it over the internet, it's not the worst thing that can happen. But you have to judge, is $10, you're going to get a lot of gameplay, you're going to get a mostly fun game. But for $10, are you okay with the possibility of dropping out online and having to replay 20 minutes of gameplay? You know, maybe you're really good at platformers, you like really challenging time-based platformers. If you like that, then that's not an issue for you. So $10 isn't bad. It's not a bad asking price for as much gameplay as you're going to get. But again, the game's not perfect, and you're going to have to weigh in your head, do I have someone locally? Would I have to play it online? Is it worth it to me? You know, $10, whatever. That's up to you. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to, you know, tell you what I think about the game. So that's pretty much it. That's my review of Ibb and Obb. Had fun playing it, but got pretty frustrated at the end and, you know, beat it, and that's kind of it. So, alright, hope you guys enjoyed this review. Hope you found it useful for you. I'm Voodoo, and I will see you again with another Voodoo's Verdict real soon. So, until then, peace out.